Joining us now is Senior Editor at Large at Newsweek, Josh Hammer. Josh, great to see you. Donald Trump has confirmed that the United States will engage directly with Iran in a high-level meeting happening this Saturday. Trump says that he hopes the talks will be successful because we're getting into dangerous territory. This is what he had to say.
We're having direct talks with Iran, and they've started. It'll go on Saturday. We have a very big meeting, and we'll see what can happen. And I think everybody agrees that doing a deal would be preferable to doing the obvious. And the obvious is not something that I want to be involved with, or frankly, that Israel wants to be involved with if they can avoid it. So we're going to see if we can avoid it. But it's getting to be very dangerous territory. And hopefully those talks will be successful. And I think it would be in Iran's best interest if they are successful. We hope that's going to happen.
The obvious being bombing Iran. Do you have confidence that the talks will be successful?
No, of course not, Gabriella. I mean, you're talking here about a fanatical, theocratic Islamist dictatorship in Iran. I mean, this is a regime that is totally nuts. I mean, this is a regime that literally chants in their legislature every single day, death to Israel, death to America. They call Israel the little Satan, America the big Satan. You know, Gabriella, I was giving a talk in Washington, D.C. last summer, and someone came up to me after my talk and said that he actually grew up in Iran. He actually was in Tehran until he was 16 years old. Then his family fled to the United States. He told me that literally every day in school when he was growing up, they made them all put their hand on their heart and solemnly vow that they would do all that they could on that day to bring the death and destruction to the little Satan of Israel and the big Satan of America. They actually genuinely believe this. This is regime ideology. This is not a cold, calculating people there. They are theocratic Islamists who are motivated by all that entails. So no, I absolutely do not have any confidence whatsoever that this is going to go particularly well. I don't have a huge issue with sitting down with them one final time, two final times, whatever there. I mean, when Donald Trump's, is issuing threats, the kind of threats that he is issuing today at the White House with Netanyahu there, those are not empty threats there. So he's making very clear that there's going to be a military option on the table. Yeah. So at this point there, I don't see a whole lot of downside to sitting with them, but I would be remiss if I said that I think it's going to go anywhere in a positive direction, just given the nature of who they're dealing with here, frankly.
Yeah, of course. Well, Trump said the US military campaign against the Houthis in Yemen has been very successful, and Pete Hegseth was very strong on this today, insisting that it is only going to get worse for the Houthis until they stop shooting at our ships.
Whether it's underground facilities, weapons manufacturing, bunkers, troops in the open, air defense assets, we are not going to relent. And it's only to get more unrelenting until the Houthis declare they will stop shooting at our ships. And we've been very clear to the Iranians as well. They should not continue to provide support to the Houthis, and that message has been made very clear. So we have a lot more options and a lot more pressure to apply, and we know, because we see the reports, how devastating this campaign has been in them.
And this comes after Donald Trump shared a video on his social media account of the US strike on Yemen, claiming that they will never sink our ships again. What do you make of the comments out of the White House today?
So first of all, Pete Hegseth is awesome, isn't he? I mean, talk about just a guy who gets it. I was grinning ear to ear when I first heard that he was going to be named Secretary of Defense there, and I think he's off to a great start thus far. A guy who is really turning around the Pentagon. The Pentagon is a bureaucracy here in the United States that has been ailing, that has been hurting. They have suffered massive recruitment shortfalls over the past few years. There was a crisis of morale within the Pentagon, within the armed forces. Pete Hegseth is the perfect guy to turn this around. And I continue just to be deeply pleased with the job that he is doing. When it comes to the Houthi threat, specifically there, Donald Trump means what he says, and he's the kind of guy who, again, he's not mincing words. When he talks, he is also going to very much walk the walk. And, there's been something of a debate within certain pockets of let's call it the America First movement, the MAGA movement here, as to whether or not Donald Trump's strikes on the Houthis are consistent with his general foreign policy worldview, to which I emphatically answer yes. I think it is deeply consistent there. It reminds me, frankly, of when he took out Qasem Soleimani. the arch IRGC Iranian terrorists at the Baghdad, Iraq airport back in January of 2020. Donald Trump's foreign policy is very simple. He's not looking to start wars. He's not looking to mess with you. But if you mess with the United States, then he's going to punch back twice as hard. Qasem Soleimani learned that the hard way, and now the Houthis are learning the same lesson the hard way as well. The Houthis have fired on hundreds and hundreds of ships, many of which are either flagged by the United States or are going towards the United States as far as like where the actual destination of the commercial products on board are. And this has a tangible effect on the American consumer, especially given all the trade war issues. Right now, the Houthis are only going to increase prices. So it's not just a local issue. It's very much a global issue as well, given that 10 to 20% roughly of global commerce flows there on the Red Sea, to which the Houthis have taken this hostage. So Donald Trump sees the American interest. He's acting in accordance with that interest there. And I look forward to seeing what he does from here.
Well, on the global issues, the trade war between the US and China is on the verge of becoming even more hostile. Let's talk about those tariffs. Donald Trump's issued another threat to Beijing. Now, the president threatened an additional 50% tariffs on China. He said if China does not withdraw its 34% increase above their already long-term trading abuses by tomorrow, the United States will impose additional tariffs on China of 50% effective April 9th. Additionally, all talks with China concerning their requested meetings with us will be terminated. Negotiations with other countries, which have also requested meetings, will begin taking place immediately. I mean, Josh, wow. How do you see this playing out? As Trump mentioned there, it also comes after the White House said that 50 other nations have now reached out to negotiate with Donald Trump, but he's not backing down.
You know, Gabriella, I've been talking about this in my own show, The Josh Hammer Show. So I think a lot of people think of MAGA and America First as being an immigration-centric movement. And let's be very clear. I mean, it is. I am not disputing that premise there. When Donald Trump came down that gilded escalator back in the summer of 2015 at Trump Tower there, we all remember that speech talking about how Mexico sending rapists. I mean, there's been a lot of immigration focus to MAGA and President Trump's general political success going back over a decade now. Having said that, Donald Trump on a personal level, him as a man, you can go back 45, 50 years to find Donald Trump saying the stuff that he is still saying today about tariffs and about China in particular. He has always understood properly that China is America's #1 threat to the United States when it comes to geopolitics, when it comes to diplomacy, military, and yes, when it comes to the economy as well there. He has always been a dissenter to his class, to his fellow ultra millionaires and billionaires when it comes to this idea that bringing China into the fold of Western style nations, when it comes to China's ascension to the World Trade Organization in 2001. Donald Trump dissented time and time again. He's been proven right because China has taken our manufacturing jobs here in the United States. They are manipulating our currency. They are hoarding all sorts of our very important equipment when it comes to the PPE, the personal protective equipment that we need at the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic. They have a shockingly high control over the very ingredients that go into Americans' basic, everyday, day-to-day pharmaceuticals. And perhaps even most troubling, right now, they are threatening in increasingly bellicose fashion to do a full-scale amphibian invasion of the island of Taiwan, which is home to Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, the globe's #1 semiconductor manufacturer, on which Americans are deeply reliant when it comes to everything from our iPhones to our F-35 fighter jets. So, I mean, we've really put ourselves in a pickle, a massive pickle when it comes to this idea that economic liberalization with China could somehow lead to political liberalization. This was this utter academic gobbledygook that was peddled by elites of both parties for decades on end. It has catastrophically failed. Donald Trump, to his great credit, presciently saw that decades before it failed, and he's continuing to put those policies in place to try to reverse the calamitous failures of globalization run amok. So, you know, people can quibble with parts of the broader tariff policy. He's obviously slapped tariffs on a lot of nations besides China. But when it comes to China in particular, I say go for it. I mean, it is time to duke this out. It is time to try to rebalance our trade with our nation's #1 geopolitical foe this century, which is very clearly the Chinese Communist Party.